Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today's album review is on And One, their debut album called Anguish. And One is a German synth pop EBM band that I found probably about 15 years ago. This album is from 1991. This is they got together roughly in like 89, 90, and then came out with their first album there in 1991. And when I got a chance to come across one of their CDs, I kind of took a chance on it, and I was pleasantly surprised with what I heard. I think they do a good job of mixing EBM and synth pop, and but for some reason I never in the last 15, 20 years I've never gone back and checked out more material until they were kind of on my list here to check out some of their early albums and kind of go through their career and check out their evolution, and hopefully I'll like a lot more music. Um, this album, I don't know if after hearing this album I'm a little bit um, wouldn't say perplexed, but a little bit torn on whether I like it or not. I think you know I think they do have two styles. It feels like they do. This is a little bit more EBM and feeling like they're kind of finding their way. And the one album I have heard is it feels like a little bit more original, and it sounds more. I guess I don't know if it sounds more like them, but maybe I just like their synth pop more than their EBM. I do like their more aggressive beats and stuff like that, and just their darker songs in general. And but I don't know if that means that I like more EBM than synth pop or new wave, because EBM would be a little bit more darker than synth pop. But I want to say I like their more new wave side, because it is a little bit more moody and it's still got some good dance beats and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm pretty good at recognizing not only like the quality of older electronic music, but especially when I hear it for the first time, but been able to kind of put myself in that time and think about what else was around, what I was into at that time, and as almost as if I would have heard it the first time in 1991, put myself in that mind frame. Like I was listening to Frontier 402. I liked Frontline Assembly. I was a huge Skinny Puppy fan. All the normal industrial bands, and then also Ministry, also Nine Inch Nails. But also I was really into the moodier side of New Wave with obviously Depeche Mode and Camouflage and a lot of other bands. And one kind of reminds me of of Camouflage in some ways. There's some American versions of that, or UK versions of that, where it's kind of like cause and effect is one that sort of sticks out. Maybe Information Society, uh, Anything Box. There's some bands that are sort of like American or UK new wave, and sort of, I wouldn't say imitation Depeche Mode bands, but they're kind of in that vein. And one I feel like was kind of, there's a lot on here that feels like, and I don't think it sounds dated in any way, because I'm putting myself in 1991 and I'm like, okay, well, if I was in 1991, this wouldn't sound dated. But I don't know if maybe some of the choices of directions of the songs are necessarily the right ones. I feel like when I listen to Body Pop, and unfortunately that's the only album that I can kind of compare them to, but I feel like that was a lot more a stronger album through and through, and the songs were more complete and well polished in a good way, and not because there is rawness and polished, and if you go to the extremes of either, it can be, if it's too well polished, it could be a little bit lacking some emotion. If it's too raw, it could be to the point where it sounds too basic with electronic music, and I don't think this one really does either of that. But I just don't think that the songs are that strong. Um, Let me look into my notes here. I like I can't remember his name, the lead singer's voice. The lead singer's name. I guess it's Steve Nagavi. Um, I think he has a strong voice, and it's good. It's well balanced, and it goes with the music, and it's kind of haunting and powerful, and a little bit, kind of I don't know, kind of wouldn't say really like spooky or anything like that, but he kind of has a tone in his voice like he's kind of up to something, like he's kind of telling you on the down low about the problems with government or the world or whatever. Like he's kind of like, and it is a little, because he does have a more of a baritone voice, and it is on the darker side. So I guess it is kind of a little bit spooky, but it's cool. He has a cool voice, and I think he does a good job of singing as well. I like the bass lines, the good driving EBM bass lines. Like on the track Second Front. There's a touch of techno in here. Generally, their melodies are good from what I heard on Body Pop. On here, they could be a little bit more varied, and I feel like maybe some of the melodies are a little bit basic. Unfortunately, like on their main track, which was their kind of club hit and one of their most important tracks for their early career, and still a track they play often, is Metal Hammer. And I think the keyboard stabs are a little bit dated. That part sounds dated and kind of a little bit annoying. And I don't think the song really. I can see back in 1991 that it's different. It's a little bit more like a sort of like a wouldn't say like a call to action, like a marching song, like like almost like Headhunter by Front 242. Like it has that sort of like powerful like chorus, but I don't know. It just doesn't really do too much for me. I think it's a good song, but it's not like I don't. Maybe I'm sure it's not going to grow on me because it's I probably won't listen to it again, but. So I don't know if it could grow on me, but I'm sure it's grown on longtime fans of And One that have heard this album. I'm sure it's grown in some sort of ways, whether it be good or not. But if it's gotten better over time, but I just feel it's just kind of like this album in some ways. It's just kind of it lacks depth. I think there's too many songs on here. There's 12 songs on here. Think 3 or 4 are instrumental. I think some of the choices that there are instrumental songs. I think some of the instrumental songs are actually more interesting than many of the songs. There's like a couple songs where I think are the stronger songs. My favorite songs are the Second Front, Second Voice, Exit. Those are my 3 favorite tracks. Some of the instrumentals I find more interesting than any of the other tracks besides those 3 tracks, and some of them are only like a minute or 2 minutes long. So like track number 4, Meshin. I really like this track. Nice and moody and dramatic and eerie and unique and a really cool kind of instrumental break, but I think they could have turned it into more and a better song, and I think it would outdo a lot of these other songs. Same thing with Synthetic, track number 8. I gave that track 3 stars as well, and I think that instrumental is better than most of the dance tracks, most of the other tracks. In fact, I really didn't give any song higher than a 3 stars. I have 2, 3, 4. I have 5 tracks at 3 stars, but I couldn't really feel like any of them were really above any other ones. And the instrumentals again were just as good as some of the top songs on here. I felt they were different and more unique and more atmospheric, especially like Mention and Synthetic's a better dance song than most of the songs on here. the best songs on here, like Second Front and Second Voice and maybe Exit, as far as the best songs that have lyrics, I couldn't really put them above a better instrumental. I felt like, I don't know if the really choruses or the singing really takes it above a better instrumental of the music side. I mean, I'm sure anybody who's listening to N1 is or bands like this really enjoy the choruses and the melodics and stuff, but we're really here for the instrumentals. You know what I mean? The music of electronic. We're not. I don't think anybody is out there saying like this lead singer of this band, it's a new wave band, is great, and that's the reason I like it's the melodies, it's the harmonies, it's the rhythms, it's the sounds, it's the aggression, whatever it is with electronic music that you're into. That's going to be like 80% of it, 90% of it, more so than what they're saying or the vocals of it or the quality of the singing. One of the things I look for when it comes to vocals is just, does it go really well with the does the tone of his or her voice go really well with the music? That's what I look for, and reflection in the voice or inflection in the voice and certain tones that they hit, like emotion wise. I like voices, but if they said my TV's on the brink and they're singing about the sink being clogged, like I could really care less as long as it fits well into what the music is doing, right? So I don't really like looking for N1 to like wow me with the lyrics, or as long as his voice kind of goes with the music, I'm not going to rate it great or bad. It goes well with the music, so I'm happy with it. But I don't think it really does anything extra for his voice on some of these songs. For me, I will say it does make a difference. I feel like his vocals are a little bit better in Body Pop, and probably is more so the harmonies in the choruses and just the songs in general that are just, I feel like, are better than here. But running through it real quick, Devil Airlines is 1.5 stars for intro. It's kind of lackluster. I don't know. I think some of the other instrumentals would have worked better as an intro. I mean, it sounds like an intro track, but it doesn't really. Kind of sounds a little dated on that one. 1.5 stars. Second Front I like. The and one in this period. Even a lot more so than. Again, the vocals really came into their own. I'm pointing back here because the CD's back here, but. The vocals back here, there's a few songs that sort of are very Front 242 like. Second Voice, Second Front, and Anguish all have background singing, balancing the main singer, and him yelling and sort of soft spoken voice, just like Front 242 does. It's kind of like I wouldn't say it's like an imitation. It's definitely more like an homage or a tribute to them. I wouldn't say, I'm not one of those people who says like, well, I don't think so. I mean, on the whole, I don't think I do that. But maybe if I really, really didn't like the album, I would be like, okay, well, if it wasn't done fairly well, if it wasn't a good album, or at least an okay album, like this one I feel is an okay album, I would say maybe it sounds like a Front 242 ripoff, but I wouldn't go there. It's just a few songs that sort of sound like, that sort of do the voices that Front 242 are sort of known for. And I don't think I think they really kind of, well, we'll see when I review the other albums, but I would imagine they sort of went more into new wave and sort of, they still have some EBM rhythms and beats, I feel like, in body pop, but I feel like they're going away from what it sounds like they're trying here versus maybe 10, 15 years later. But I'll be interested to check that as I go through the albums. This is definitely a band that I want to like, and that I want to find some really good songs on it. There is a little bit of, when I listen to Body Pop, and probably a reason why I haven't really gone into further checking their stuff is I do feel like there could be a little bit of cheesiness in the N1, where I won't like a lot of albums, and maybe I'll like a couple songs here and there, but I'll probably kind of be disappointed in the long run. I do feel a little bit of that. So if you do watch this channel through the next couple of years, and as I review other And One albums, it'll kind of it'll kind of be interesting to see how my opinion of them grows, because this one's kind of interesting because I heard one album at the middle of their basically the middle of their career, and now I'm going back to their early career and then sort of going through, and there's quite a bit of albums to review. I want to say at least 12 albums they did. They almost did like one every year, if not every 2 years, from 1991 to like at least 2005. I want to say in the last 15 years, maybe it's only like 5 or 6 albums, but still, there's like at least 10 to 12 records that I'll have to listen to. Or not have to listen to, but I'll want to listen to, in hopes I'll find some good tracks. Will I find some good albums? That's to be um, that's to be seen. But I know I'll like a couple tracks per album, and I do like a couple tracks on this album. I just can't really rate them very high, and overall the album is there's too many songs, and there's I don't think there's some good choices on here, and I think a couple could be left out. There's a couple that sound a little familiar to each other, and yeah, I just feel like this. I think if they would have took their time a little bit more on this one too, like I feel like they're kind of some of these songs are kind of rushed and sort of put in there, but maybe they don't even think that there's some of them that are that they don't stand out compared to the other ones. And I'll kind of mention a couple here as I go through it. But Second Friend, I like 3 stars. Metal Hammer, unfortunately, I give it a 2.25 stars. It's just not my type of song, but I think it's good for what it is. Meshin, I really like the moodiness and the dramatic instrumental on here. Well, I guess there's some sort of vocal on here, but you know, if you know the song, you know it's kind of not really talking, but kind of almost sounds like he's like haunting the record, haunting the song. It was really cool. I like it. 3 stars. The title, shouldn't say the title track, but the name of they named a song after them, And One, which is track number 5, which is instrumental. 2.5 stars. Then the track Only One. It's a nice change of pace, but I don't know if doing Eastern sounds into EBM is the right choice. There's a couple tracks on here. There's also Anguish, which sort of has like an Eastern melody on it, and I don't know if it really goes with the EBM. I'm sorry. I don't know. Still, like somebody couldn't do an Eastern style EBM, but this type of sound of the Eastern sounds, after being into like a lot of ethnic ambient and I mean, I just reviewed Heavenly Bodies and Dead Can Dance and a lot of good Eastern sounding sort of music. I feel like this is kind of cheesy, and just doesn't work for me. And then so that track is a little bit of confusion, even though it's a nice change of pace. But Crime Time really doesn't do anything for me. I give it a 1.5 stars. Synthetic, I really like his instrumental, one of the better songs on here. Instrumentally, 3 stars. Geld it's an interesting track, but it doesn't really kind of get to the level that Mensch does. It's kind of has that same kind of appeal. It's kind of in the same order on the album as Mensch in some ways. It's kind of breaking up the beginning, middle, and end with those 2 tracks, those 2 sort of moodier tracks. But it's a good track, but it's really kind of a little lackluster. I give it 2 stars. The album does end better than I feel like the middle, which is good. Second Voice, I got 3 stars. Exit, I got 3 stars. Exit, I think, is probably the most complete track on here, I feel like. And then Anguish, even though it has the Eastern sounds, it's a better track than it's on par with most of the album, but I think it's on a better side of right in the middle, maybe. Compared to my scoring, it's like right in the middle at 2.5 stars for the album. Because when I add up the stars, it's 27.25 stars divided by 12, which is a 2.27, which is right in the middle of 50s. And I can't really give it any additional points or really take away anything. I don't know if I really can say anything is bad on here. Maybe a touch corny at times, maybe a little bit dated. You could say it sort of sounds like a knockoff Front 242. I wouldn't really, those things come to mind, but they're not really like things that I would if somebody asked me the opportunities of it, I guess I would have to mention those, but they don't really like put off the album for me. But it's just the songs aren't as good as other songs I've heard them do, at least on the one album that I've heard. And then none of the songs really stick out. So I really wanted to like this album, and I really want to like And One, even though I do have some reservations that they could be kind of corny through their career. But from what I heard on Body Pop, there will be some evolution of getting to some songs that I like better, and hopefully like a few songs along the way. I'm just a little. We'll see if I like a full album. Body Pop, if I was to guess, I'd probably give it a 65 or a 67, somewhere in the good range to higher good. I don't know if I'd say it was very good, but we'll see when I get to it. But it'd be interesting to see if there's any other album of theirs that will exceed that. But yeah, I think 53 out of 100. I give it an okay score. I can't really say it's pretty good, even in the high 50s. I don't know if I'll ever go back to it. There's a couple of tracks on here I'd probably play at a club. I think of like Exit and Second Front. Maybe Metal Hammer if I was trying to appease somebody that might really like And One. But I do like Synthetic, and I'll definitely include Mention in some mixes. I think that'll go really well in some DJ mixes that I do, where it's kind of atmospheric and moody, because I really do like that one. In fact, if it wasn't only a minute and 46 seconds, I would probably put it closer to 3.5 stars, if not 3 3/4 stars. I really like that track. But again, probably Exit is probably the most complete. Second in Front and Second Voice, I don't know if it's a coincidence because they both have second in it, the same word, but those do sound sort of alike in some ways. And I know Second Front is a track from earlier in their career. So, when they got together, so that those tracks do have a little bit of more of a 80s, late 80s industrial sound than a lot of the other songs on this album. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I definitely wouldn't say it's a under par EBM album or synth pop album. I wouldn't say it's not very good, but it's just okay. I think if they would have took off 2 or 3 tracks on here, expanded the instrumentals into songs, because I think some of the instrumentals are worth delving into deeper, I think this would have been a good album. But as it is, it's just kind of yeah, okay. I don't know how to say it. I'm curious if there's any And One fans out here that would respond to my review, but would kind of give me their thoughts on their career, and really I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on them being an EBM band versus being a new wave band? Do you feel like they're better at doing one or other? I think they are pretty good at mixing the both, but I don't know over their career. Maybe you could tell me if they've if you feel that they've done better at one or the other, or do you feel they've been pretty consistent about doing both? Hopefully my friend, hopefully one of my friends from Discogs doesn't see this review, because I know he's a big And One fan. I won't say his name, but I'm sure he'll eventually find my channel and see this review and be upset that I gave it a 52. But we'll see. All right, thanks for watching.